in, everybody. Divots and Pivots, episode 24. If you're here for the Barbasol Open, like I was, or if you're here for the Scottish Open, whichever one, because we study two different things this week, because that's how we do. We pivot on weird weeks like this. You're in the right place, because we're here to have you covered with all the latest golf news, all your picks for either tournament you want to play. And check out the new background, ladies and gentlemen. It's a work in progress. Don't judge it too harshly just yet I blur out.
Hey, it's not a work in progress. It's a work of art.
Hey, I like that. This is going to be a work of art right here at some point soon. So just stay tuned for that. Keep watching if you want to see what that is. But Bud, we've already heard your voice. What's going on, my man?
As usual, Bud, as usual, you stepped on my intro. How are you now that you've let yourself? I'm doing fantastic, man. And I got to tell you, what a time to be a Brit. What a time to be an Englishman or an Englishwoman or whatever you want to call yourself, because they just celebrated the centennial of center court at Wimbledon. If you're a sports person, if you're a tennis person at all, it's just cool when any kind of monumental moment comes right on top of, or on the heels of the Queen's whatever jubilee they had to invent, because nobody's ever been in office for 75 years. Now we've got the Scottish Open at the Renaissance, which is becoming this new premier event. This week's field is the strongest DP World Tour field they've ever had by world golf rankings. And then next week it's not the British. Don't get your ass kicked. It is the Open Championship at St. Andrews. It's 150th. And better yet, Jordan Spieth got DQ'd from a pro-am this week. So everything fun is happening across the pond.
Sure is.
Things are happening on this side of the pond. It depends on where you are in your own pond, whether or not you're having fun, but we're having a blast here on Belly Up. But I will tell you what, one thing that's kind of pissing me off about the Scottish Open.
What is pissing you? I mean, should I say what is slicing Bud? Right out the gate, he comes firing everybody.
Man, that intern's kicking ass there. The litigiousness of society has crept into golf.
Yes.
In when I say litigiousness, it's a word that means legal. It's that kind of an adjective. Sorry, I just, I had to remind myself. I just spit it out. But the litigiousness of society is creeping into golf, and it started back. I actually blame the Rocky series. If you remember, at the end of Rocky V, Tommy Morrison, he finally gets his ass kicked, and Rocky looks at the Don King, supposedly stand-in for the series. Touch me and I'll sue. And Rocky, rightfully so, slugs the shit out of him. Sure. Pardon me for the kids in the room. But ever since then, when I taught middle school, I taught in a great middle school. It was a lot of fun. You see a lot of things teaching middle school. Middle schoolers are better than cable TV. They're too old to be cute, too young to be cool, and they're impressionable. So they're a lot of fun to watch. But the amount of times I would even mockingly hear, "Ooh, I'm going to sue. And I'm just thinking to myself, oh my God. And look, I mean, without going into that corner of the world, even elections, before an election happens, you hear people saying there's already these legal challenges. So anyways, everybody goes there, and guess what? Ian Poulter went there. Leave it to Ian Poulter. Now, I was on Ian's side until now. He did go to the Live Tour, and he was being diplomatic, and I guess he still is being diplomatic by going to the courts. But I almost want to be like, that's kind of like having to sue to go to your own prom, right? It's like you got it. You were voted out by the class. No, that's actually bullying.
Well,
but the point being,
he chose to leave.
Exactly. There
He's
you go.
He's trying to have his cake and eat it too. And I'm sorry, my man, that's not how it's going to work.
Well, it is going to work. They are going to eat cake this week. Let them eat cake, says the courts. I actually don't even know if and here's the thing. I know what I know, and I know what I don't, and I don't know the law here in America or overseas. I just know that he went to a court. I don't know if it was Scotland, England, or some sort of universal sports tribunal that they have over there, but he went to court and he sued to get in. Now, good for him. The quote unquote journalist in me would love to see, I'm not a journalist. I just kind of say that in jest because I do like to convey information. But anyways, the journalist in me would love to see him win now after a story like that, right? Like, you sue to get in, I belong. Come on, man. But Billy Horschel in me wants to tell him to go pound sand. And I've got to, from the look on your face, I got to ask, did you see what Billy Horschel's comments about Liv were? And then we're going to pivot back to what we need to be.
I'm not sure I saw Billy Horschel specifically. I saw some other comments out there.
So Billy Ho came out, and first of all, before this moment, I was a Billy hater because he's a Florida Gator. But But the bigger person in me, he's won me over. It took him time, but he's been trying for a while, and I'll credit where credit's due. He kind of came out and said, "I'm sick of this, man." He's like, "There's people behind closed doors who've been talking crap, and they've been lying and two-faced, and I'm not just going to sit here and be diplomatic about it anymore." And you know what? Shouts to him. The high road gets lonely, but then when you look around and you realize you're not alone, you can finally speak up. And he's kind of like,
Sure.
"Wait a minute, hold on. I'm not the only one who feels like this. All right, fine." And I do think it wasn't out of any cowardice that he hasn't said anything. I think it was genuinely his gentlemanly nature. I mean, the guy still wears saddleback shoes and like classic FootJoy everything. I love his
Well,
style.
and he probably knows his place within the PGA Tour as well, where it's
Dude.
like, we're seeing Justin Thomas, we're seeing Rory being like the two main guys whose comments are in the news, who are getting taken, like, and rightfully so. They are the kind of the leaders of the new era of golf. Billy Horschel's not like on that level to where like
He's a seasoned guy.
yeah, he's a seasoned guy, but he
Yeah.
doesn't have that same public pull where if he goes out there and says something, it's going to grab attention and hit as hard like JT
You know
and
who,
Rory.
to use kind of a military, and now actually no, forget that, because I don't want to piss off any of the vets or active duty. Be like, actually, you know, really more be like, but to use kind of like a, I don't know, he is a seasoned vet, and I don't mean veteran short for that. I mean, he's been out there a while, and he, like you said, he knows his place.
Yeah.
He is deferring to maybe younger people who have more impact, and he's picking his moments. And I think that's the point. It's like, it's not that it's not his place, but like you said, he kind of recognized the moment, he read the room, and this was the time for him to finally be like, enough's enough. Like, and I think he's kind of like, why are we still talking about this? Best was, there's two things, and this is the coda to my what a time to be a Brit. You know, we opened with all the positive, and here's the cherry on top. Paul Casey just went to the Live Tour.
I know.
So
I was going to bring it up. Yes,
he did. So this brings me to my next thing. Russell Knox comes out today. Scottish guy. Was it Russell Knox? I got to look up who it was. We'll look it up. We'll look it up live. I think it was actually, we got to find out. Russell Knox. Somebody came out. Russell Knox. Yes. Okay. Russell Knox Ryder Cup. He finally came out and he was like, you know what? Maybe this is all good. Maybe it's good that these kind of guys who are on their way out. Oh, the old boys hanging on for dear life. That's what he called them. Yeesh. But I mean, he's got a point, right? He's kind of like, hey, look who's over there. Look at the average age. Look at the average world golf ranking. And I point to the whole sustainability model in the sense of you do have to have an X factor. You have to have you have to have something extra to play for. I would much rather watch the Corn Ferry Tour and these guys playing for $1.50 on the dollar. But they're playing for a tour card, and we kind of have a frame of reference. This is the thing that pisses all of us off, and I say us being, I would say my generation, and I'll lump in the Xers that are in my family tree, and actually going all the way back to my grandfather who worked a warship in the Pacific. Sure. There's no such thing as a free lunch. Nothing's guaranteed, and to think that you can go shoot 80, or 80, 84 like Andy Ogletree did, or whatever the heck his name is, and be guaranteed $850,000 is kind of sickening. And there is
he shot 8 over per round.
There's a funny I actually retweeted. I don't tweet much, but PGA Tour or whatever. It's one of the meme parody accounts. They said that was it Live Tour renegotiated their contract with Phil Mickelson, and he's now going to make $1 million for every round he shoots under par, saving the league $199 million. And it's like,
oh jeez.
Ooh. but it does. I think that's why this is no different than if we asked all these people to get hyped about you and I going out to our local muni and playing for $50. Our spouses may come if they're not busy. You never know.
I was gonna say maybe,
but for us to expect the people to give a rat's rear, that is coming from a couple of hypocrites who may or may not in their first weekend of September venture out to the international and see them live. Again, no different than if the county fair is close enough and I'm not busy, I'll go. But it's not something you're going to plant your flag in. And I don't feel bad for these guys because the other thing Russell Knox did say was, guys like DJ, he said it. I'm doing this for my family. I'm doing this for longevity. I'm at peace with my decision. I'm not trying to grow the game other than, and so it does. It's like, I'm with Billy Ho.
And it makes sense. The amount of money they're getting, like they can set their families up. They can spend more time with their family. Like I get that. That's why
that part I do get. Patrick Reed.
Yeah, Patrick, I got that. I'm not a big Patrick Reed fan, but he said that. I said, yeah, okay. I texted you. I said, yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Game respects game.
But like JT said this week too, he came out and said, just he said, I had more respect if they would just come out and say, I'm doing it for the money. Like, just man up and do it. Just say it. I'm here for the money. Don't sugarcoat it with all this other stuff. Like, you just want the money, and that's fine. That's your prerogative. That's your decision. It's all good.
And the thing, Phil, he made some allusions in his interview with Shipnuck about the PGA Tour sitting on this boatload of money, and he was right. They had all this money. They probably did have it stockpiled for a threat or for an emergency, such as, okay, you're going to try to buy our talent. We do see that some of it's going. That the gravitas is still there, so they know that they don't have to go all out. But they were like, all right, now's the time. Let's do it. These are going to be $20 million events. These are going to be for only the top fit. Like, they just went and rolled it out, and it's kind of like, Greg, you showed your hand. What else you got? Because there's rumors now that the same outfit is going to propose a women's league next year, and same model, same everything, same format, same money.
See, now that's something that could, I think, my gut thing that could actually help grow the women's game. Like, look,
but why is it more palatable to those who by the way, to those who have a strong feeling? This is all kind of an academic exercise for me, because
this is all just like fresh thoughts.
Pay attention to.
Yeah, but I mean, look, the more people watch the men than the women. I don't agree that should be the case, because there's plenty of women who can compete with the men. Like, it's just separate, but the tour is just as talented. It can be just as entertaining, but
golf's unique in the sense that it's the only sport around where you do have, any other sport, get them side by side, and there are going to be now in golf, people would say length, right?
Yes.
Well, that could be true and that could not be true. I mean, look at the country club. The country club's all of 7,000 yards, and it handed these boys their rear ends. Now, I can tell you right now, those ladies out there, you say all you got to do is hit spots. I say all you got to do. There's some lengthy holes, but at the same time, they've got game. Like, par is the opponent, and so that's the interesting part. They're going to try to maybe do some crossover events. They're going to try to maybe do some co-ed stuff. So
see, that would be cool. I think that's. Look, they have some fantastic ideas.
Right. I've said that from the beginning. The format.
To liven up the game, to bring this new style. They are making some mistakes, though. Did I remember that they were going to be in Portland last week? No. Did I realize they were in Portland like midway through Saturday? Yeah. Did I watch? No. They're missing an opportunity to really. I don't want to. It's not to the point where it's step on the neck of PGA Tour, but because they're not like over the PGA Tour, but they have an opportunity to grab a share of the market and run with it while it's fresh. And this is where other leagues like the XFL, like the USFL, have failed in the past. Or no, not the USFL, the other football. What was that? The AFL that came back like a year or two ago.
XFL.
Well, no, not there was the XFL, and then there was another.
USFL came back. I think they were actually playing this spring.
Yeah, they were playing this spring, but there was another one before. It was like the AAFL or something, whatever. That's what these leagues.
There was a spring league, because I was living in Gainesville, Florida. I think when they announced it, people were like, "What? There's gonna be pro football in the swamp?" And I was like, "I don't care, Gator hater."
It folded after the one season because of money. Money's not an issue with the Live Tour, so they have this opportunity where the one thing that always makes these leagues fail is money. They have the money solved, but now they're kind of failing at the marketing aspect of it, I think, because they're not grabbing the hype.
I'm going to go back to the product's not appealing. I don't want to watch golf with no stakes.
Well, and you're right. It does feel like that.
It's just, I mean, it's even deeper than, because what you pointed out was, we think that their products were successful and they simply ran out of money. The inverse of that could be true, which is if they had a sound business model, then the attention would have driven money. It is an interesting idea in the sense of Live is proposing things that, again, already moved the needle. We talked about those events that they're doing. The purses are going to be jacked up to 20 million in invitational status. Part of another strategic alliance was renewed, I guess they called it, with the DP World Tour, the PGA Tour. And that's where this week's Renaissance Open, brought to you by Genesis. It's the Genesis Scottish Open at Renaissance. Sorry. It's at the Renaissance Club. You're laughing at me. All right, Barbasol. We get on the pre-show. He's like, wait a minute. Are you talking about the Barbasol? no,
I
sir.
studied for
So
the Barbasol, and I was like, maybe we
that's
might as
fine.
well have skipped
You
this
studied.
week because there was
You
the
studied for the gym midterm. I studied for
yes.
calculus. No, that's actually not true at all. First of all, Chris Gotterup is going to be a fun guy to watch after
Chris
his harsh.
Gotterup crushed it for us last week on this guy's lineup.
Yeah, we're going to do a quick recap of last week here in a minute, and the long and short of it is basically we're tied, but he has a 170-point lead because he didn't submit a lineup 2 weeks ago, so we started fresh last week.
Yes, and the long and short of it is that I just whooped ass last week.
Yeah, you did have a good week.
I'm not against you, but look, if you listened to the show last week and you played Chris Gotterup and you played, look, Lucas Glover was my miss. I do stand by though. If he had made the cut, he missed it by one stroke. He had the one bad first round, but he showed up second round with a 5-under round, which is much more like I expected him to play. If he had made that cut, I think it could have been a lot different. I think he wouldn't have won, but I wouldn't have been surprised if he had another like 3-under, 2-under round after that on the weekend.
And that's exactly why the Live Tour will never be able to catch on the way that, because there's no place for Chris Gotterup. Well, listen, Chris Gotterup probably got an offer from Live. Pearson Cootie, who
Charles did, and
like yeah, so I'm saying, well, Pearson Cootie, who is a Corn Ferry Tour guy, Texas Longhorn, won the NCAA, won the Corn Ferry Tour. His grandfather won the Masters, and he said he was offered an absurd amount of money to go. And his whole thing was like, well, I want to earn it. It's the retirement tour. That's what it is. It's turning into this kind of not necessarily champions tour because again, Exhibit A, Paul Casey.
Paul Casey doesn't qualify for champions yet, but
Exhibit B is Chase Koepka. But no, honestly, it is what it is. It's exhibitions. They're missing the it factor. The product's not there, and so if the product's not there and the marketing sucks, you can have as much money as you want. And you can't just keep pumping out chicken shit and expecting people to order chicken salad eventually. You got to change the menu. Yes. And I think they will. I think that because they have deep enough pockets, they'll let it run a couple of years and then they'll just pull it and they'll say, all right, grandfathered in are these players. Moving forward, signing bonuses are set at X. And there will be cuts or what they'll do is they'll do a 54-hole event and then they'll do some sort of like Super 9 on Sunday where they do like Sunday morning 9-hole blitz for an extra 1 million per. They'll keep
come up with something. Evolve. They've already been able to come up with what they've come up with, but I think what you said is you don't like was very important. You don't want to. You're not interested in watching something without stakes, and that's what to me the Live Tour feels like. You're going out and watching your charity tournament scramble. Which is fun.
I'd rather watch a charity tournament scramble.
But that's the thing; those are fun. They are fun for what they are, but it's not like entertainment TV driven content.
And I don't think that they've got the product they do in the sense of like, golf's evolving, golf's changing. Listen, the party aspect. I saw somebody posting Greg Norman pouring beer off a lounge or a ledge to some fans, and he's like, golf needs to be more fun. I'm like, it's called the Waste Management. Like, boom, there. God, what else you got? And, we need a team aspect. It's called the Zurich in New Orleans. Yep. And we can introduce another one. I can guarantee you that they can take the 3M or the John Deere, which the John Deere was just good golf. Yeah. That's the other thing.
It was good golf.
It's not I want to see pain when somebody misses the cut by one, So that being said, goes back to Live Tour's not going to – they're going to hang around. I mean, obviously, you never say never. I don't think that they're going to achieve their stated goal. And I do think that a lot of these players, Graham McDowell came out and said it this week, I wish I would have kept my mouth shut and just played golf. And I don't think he meant I wish I wouldn't have gone to Live. I think he meant I wish I would have peacocked the way I did, which was probably the company line, though. Like, hey, man, we just gave you 10, Well, and here's $10 million. Go say how much you love me publicly. All right.
Yeah.
That is what happens when you make those kind of contracts. These guys aren't just going to play 8 rounds of golf a year or whatever. 8 times 3. What is that? 24.
24. Yeah. Jesus.
You're not just going.
I was about to say 27. That's how bad my math
you don't
is.
think that some Saudi prince who has a high stake in the investment capital firm is going to have a nephew who wants to have a golf outing with one of these guys? Now they might have, but here's the thing: they also might have signed contracts saying, "Sure, I'll do 8 of those a year. I do them anyways for my corporate sponsors."
Sure.
So there's more of it to consider. I think one of the biggest funny moments was from and I'm not going to call him out by name because I don't want the dozens of people watching to to pile on this guy. But if you're on the Twitter sphere, there's a well-known golf journalist, and he's a wonderful guy, does great. I say wonderful guy. Let me put that a different way. His stuff is wonderful to read and follow, and he's very good. But he made a comment that was an oopsie, and he got called out, and he just ate crow. He said something like, "It's great to see, high-level talented professional golf come back to the state of Oregon for the first time since like the 60s or 70s."
Oh, yes, yeah.
And somebody immediately
pointed right away.
Well, and then I read down, and he's like, "Air me," like flat out air me. Sorry about that. Absolutely right. I just derped on that, and that's
he ate his crow, and he was done with it. It passed on, and we were good to go.
But it was a good reminder of where we are, though. I think in society that he did pause. He had to pause because and you had to just go, I didn't mean it like it sounded. And he probably should have just said, I think all he said was, I should have specified the male game. Like, you're right. 100% right. And I'm like, good. That's what we're looking for. Anyway, speaking of the male game again, because that's the expertise. That's air quotes. DP World Tour, PGA Tour, Scottish Open. This is the first time it's been co-sanctioned by the two. And 6 days ago that they unfolded their 13-year agreement on their strategic alliance. And part of it is the top 10 finishers of the DP World Tour are going to be able to earn PGA Tour cards now that don't already have them. So there's a little, and the DP World Tour CEO came out and said, "We're not a feeder tour, damn it." And it's like, no. I mean, I did see 17 articles say that, but I get his point in the sense of like, no, it's just providing opportunity because I don't know if the inverse is true. Speaking of Patrick Reed, did you know he has an honorary lifetime membership to the DP World Tour?
I did not know that. How did he get that?
He was one of the first kind of American guys in the last 10 years to go over there and play a lot. Look at his history. He went over there a lot in the last few years. That's also part of the thing. I get what Patrick Reed's saying. He averaged something like 34 worldwide starts in the last 10 years.
Yeah, so he wants
to help with kids. Yeah, I still don't like him, and I still wish he would have never won the choker. But his reasons are sound. His logic is there. And but that's an interesting thing to follow. Follow that story, too, because as the courts play out, that was the big beef. It's like, wait a minute, you can't just say you can't drop the hammer like us. There's different rules, rights, regulations over here. And that's what they're going to let play out. I got a feeling these appeals folks are going to be like, you know what? Actually, come to think of it, it's no different than X. And they're going to make some analogy and say, let the ban stand.
Sure.
But Patrick Reed has a quote unquote lifetime membership. Will that be revoked? Is Phil's lifetime membership revoked right now, or is it just suspended indefinitely? These are all going to be topics
muddy water. That's the muddy water that would change the course of history of golf a little bit, I feel like.
Nay, mankind.
Nay, mankind. I love it. Sorry, So I had to move if I looked like I was distracted, I had to move my monitor up here because with this new setup, my camera's here, and I felt like I was looking down because I wanted to look at Bud's face as he talks. So
this is great podcast.
Now I have the monitor here, the camera's here, we're good to go.
that was great. So if you're listening on the pod, as the kids would say, Andrew is now framed by a lime green outline, which is gorgeous. It accents the green shirt he's wearing very, very well.
Plan better next time.
Well, listen, my lighting looks like I was put on by a mortician, so we're good.
Yeah.
Let's get to the topic du jour. Two things. Piper in the clutch. Thank you so much. Shouts all day.
There.
Hashtag DivPiv. DIV, PIV, 10% off. Tell them Bud sent you.
Yes.
Fantasy National boys and girls. Thank you so much for setting up the Barbasol for Andrew. He is well prepared for his exam. Here's the thing. I actually texted Drew. I almost called you Drew.
You did almost just call me Drew.
One of my best friends. One of my best friends is named Drew, and he actually runs a camp in Maine. Let me rephrase that. He works at a camp in Maine. Eventually, one day wants to run it.
Okay.
And I think he will. Here's to you, Drew. One more shout out before we actually get into business. Depending on when you're watching this, it's my wife's birthday. Happy birthday, Allie! I love you. Thank you so much for putting the kid to bed while I could come out here do this. So I love you.
For real, though, to all of us podcasters, all of us content creators, there is usually a woman behind who is supporting.
A partner behind.
A partner. Sorry, you're right. A partner behind. Jeez.
Don't slap yourself. Come on, I'm being snotty.
Oh, I know. A partner behind us who supports us all the way. So, yes, huge birthday shout out to your wife. I love that.
Yeah, for sure. So, and it's tomorrow.
What
So it's July 6th, depending on when you're seeing this.
are you flicking at some bugs there? What the?
There's a very big spider. I'm actually trying to compose myself right now. Arachnophobia was one of my biggest like movie fears. My mom decided it was a good idea for a fifth grader to watch it. The thing that stuck with me was John Goodman. John Goodman steals it. He's the only reason to watch it again. He's a wonderful guy.
Yes.
Wonderful guy because I know him. All right, where do you want to start? No, I said I wish I said like I know him.
I was gonna say you just slide in that you know John Goodman. I was like, wait a minute, we'll forget the rest of the show. What? But
no. I said he's a great guy. Like I know him. Where would you like to start, sir? Do you want to give the fans a buzz through the Barbasol? It would be educational to me. What did you learn? Where are they? What is Barbasol?
What is Barbasol?
But
so here's what you need to know about Barbasol.
There we go. Give us what we need to know.
It's fairly simple, and let me reorganize here my rankings. It's fairly simple. Chris Gotterup, the gem of last week, is priced at $10,300 in this tournament, which just tells you everything you need to know about the field for the Barbasol. It's a ball striker, strokes gained approach, and a putter type of tournament this week for that one. So you're going to want those ball strikers. The fairways are pretty wide open. You're not going to have much of rough coming into play as far as it being kind of devastating to end it. It's not gonna punish you too much. So Should be some low scores. Should be if you put it on the green, if you can putt it within 2 putts, you should be good to go. So I'm looking at ball strikers putting, strokes gained approach, par fives, and birdies or better gained. And what you get with, I'm gonna quickly give you my top 10 because we're gonna move on to the tournament that most people are gonna be playing and researching this week, which is not the Barbasol. So my quick top 10 here is I don't want to mispronounce this. Julian Surrey, Chris Gotterup, Robert Garrigus, Chesson Hadley, Doc Redman. So Doc Redman is he's only priced at $7,300 in this field, which is a shocker. Considering the field and considering how good of a ball striker he is and the PGA experience he has, this could be one that Doc Redman shows up at and it can really do something with. So I love Doc Redman. He comes in 5th on my rankings. Adam Svensson at 9,800 is someone I've loved all year. Hank Lebioda, Justin Lauer, Mark Hubbard, and rounding at the top 10, David Lingmarth is who I have for you for the Barbasol Open. And bottom line is there is guys in the 6K range, 7K range, 9K, 8K, 10K range in that top 10. You can probably build a whole lineup at that top 10 right there.
I love it. And here's the thing about the Barbasol Open. It's another one of those weeks where I similar to last week where don't try to outsmart yourself. Everybody in your top 10, I have heard of, or there's a frame of reference for. Ergo, they are kind of the creme de la creme this week. They are the folks who, if anything, experience might shine through. But like you said, the course is set up where it's not going to damage you too bad. It's not like you have to hack it out of the rough or bogeys in play automatically. You can move it, and I like to move it.
As I move my camera, because I did not realize I bumped it.
Sorry, where was I going with this? Oh, strokes gained, approach, and putting. So you nailed it. Don't try to outsmart yourself. Look for whoever's on a heater down there. This is another one of those weeks where somebody's going to probably break through and get their first win because they're lean and hungry and they know that it's not as competitive as it normally would be. I say that with a huge amount of humility, knowing how hard. Personally knowing how hard. I don't know if you heard, but I just missed the cut by 2. But no, it's a hard thing to do. And the fact that these guys are as close as they are, I don't think anybody looking back at history goes, oh, wait a minute. What you won on the PGA Tour? Oh, it was a Barbasol. Oh, okay. No,
nobody's looking at it like that.
Yeah. When's the last time you cashed $1 million for playing a couple rounds of golf?
Exactly.
So well,
I think you nailed it perfectly is that, someone's going to ride the guys who are on a heater in a tournament like this. We started last week with JT Post and he came in hot. He was riding hot in the model, and he crushed it.
I didn't follow my own advice. I said last week, run the numbers and trust him. And he was number 1 in the model, and I passed on him trying to think like a dark horse, and I got trampled. buy a horse.
Look, three
so
guys in my top 10 finished in the top 10. So
I don't want to hear about you and 3 dudes on a horse.
Yeah.
So
but what I'm trying to say is that someone like Chris Gotterup, who played great last week, who's priced high this week, probably still going to be a little bit chalky because of the field and because he's getting all the hype right now because of last week. I'd still play him because I think he's going to do good.
And I would say something to pay attention to the next couple of weeks, because next week, remember, I think it's the Bumfuck Classic, but remember there is the Open Championship going on. That's what we're going to be focused on.
Yes.
So, but that being said, another thing to pay attention to, especially as the years continue, is these Barbasol and I think the Barracuda Classic. It's something next week, or Mayakopa or whatever, but they are also kind of allowing DP World Tour players to play in these. So there's going to be some of that cross pollination there. And it's going to be interesting to find, see if anybody does well from the DP World Tour, or if that even matters. A lot of times those tournaments are held at kind of resort style courses that might be a TPC, but at the same time, it's much more geared towards vacation and tourists, and they're not going to allow it to be taken offline for 3 months to really beef it up for a tour event. So
that's what it would take. Exactly.
At the end of the day, it still takes a lot to shoot whatever they got to shoot to win. But let's get back over on the other side of the pond at the relatively new Renaissance. I think it opened 2007, 8, 9, somewhere in that. We've already seen a handful of Scottish Opens there. It's quickly becoming well known, especially because of its location. Nearby is Muirfield, and then another well-known course on the other side of it. So it's right in there, kind of like golf royalty area. And people are even saying, like, should it be maybe kind of but a course added to the rota, which is a word that we're going to hear. That should have been what's slicing me. It's going to slice me for the next week to hear rotation. Why do you have the rota?
Or they're just going to steal a page from the fantasy book and just call it the roto.
The roto, yeah. So anyways,
either way, I don't like it.
No, but it's a Tom Doak design. It's 7,200 plus. They can push it back to 74, 75 if they really want to. More of a modern course that has that kind of flexibility. And the scuttlebutt on it is, it's kind of 75% links. Sorry, there's bugs flying around. For everybody on the podcast, I was just swatting and I almost hit the microphone. No, but it's 7,200 plus. It's a Tom Doak design. It's challenging. It's 75% link, 25% kind of modern game. And this is a ball strikers, not course. It's a ball strikers country. The weather is going to play a factor. I mean, and I'm not going to stray too far from the pack and say what you just said for the Barbasol rings true here, in the sense of, because we're getting into this major mentality. Again, this is the strongest field in a DP Tour World event outside of a major ever. I mean, they're turning this into kind of their own, not players, because the players has an identity and a story, but that kind of second level tier of tournament saying, this is a world-class event and it brings world-class players. It's not a quote unquote tune-up for the Open, but it's a tune-up for the Open. Like, who cares? If you get everybody at the same two events, then you're going to get the same players, same level of competition in theory. So I think it's a wonderful event, and the Renaissance is a really cool looking course. If you've never watched British golf, Scottish golf. But one of my best buddies is from back in the day, is from Scotland. He actually texted me the other day a picture. He was in somebody's backyard that had their own putting green. He's like, "Happy 4th, buddy." I'm like, ugh. Anyway, if you've never watched golf overseas, tune in. It's beautiful, and I think the best part about it is I kind of like listening to the Sky News guys. We are going to get some more Nick Faldo over the next few weeks, and then Trevor Immelman's going to step in. Which the dulcet tones of Trevor, like I'm here for that. I like me some Trevor, but it's a fun week for golf, and I do think coming on the heels of all the nonsense, it just fades away because it's pretty cool over there. I mean, did you see the practice round picture that JT and Jordan Spieth and Ricky put out?
I didn't see theirs specifically. I've seen other pictures of the course, and it looks to be in great shape, but I didn't see theirs specifically. No.
They posted that picture, and I think it's cool because the backstory is the spring break from 10 years ago when they were all there or whatever it was. Yeah. But somebody took it and turned it into my favorite meme in a long time. Or they didn't even turn it into a meme. They just commented, and they just said, "It's incredible what the things that Make-A-Wish Foundation can do. Happy day to you, Ricky." And it was like,
Oh.
And I mean, I'd like to think that Ricky Fowler is been around long enough, has thick enough skin that if that came across, he might just kind of chuckle at it, might bristle at it and put it on his locker room. It's locker room material for him to be like, fuck you, man. Like, I'm Ricky Fowler. I'm one of the players. He doesn't have status anywhere right now, but I thought that was funny and cute. So speaking of cute, let's get into it. Let's get into it. Do you have your notes ready? Are you ready to navigate the and now I think why people will understand the people, all 17 people who saw my post when I said F it, we'll do it live. It wasn't just because we were going live at 8. It was also because we're gonna have to go through this live together.
Yeah. So I got it pulled up right here, and you're right. This it's a
I'm just shocked that I'm real quick. Moving forward. If you see anybody in the 10K range that makes you go, huh? Pause.
Yes, I should have known, but because we had the Open coming up, and I figured this is just a week off.
I'm glad you squirmed, because I'm gonna actually tell. I texted him before, and I'm like, listen, dude, I haven't done anything. Can I just cheat off your notes? And he's like, sure thing, man. And he shows up with notes for the Barbasol. And that's why I was like, well, I downloaded the DK, guys. All right, let's get into it.
Yeah, that's when you blame the person you cheated off of for why you failed, right?
So coming off last year, Minwoo Lee, Sunday 64, got into a playoff, and one of the guys in that playoff was Matt Fitzpatrick. Matt Fitzpatrick coming off of it. I used to be the, it's hard to back. And then Scotty Scheffler came along and reminded us that and JT Poston came along last week and reminded us, when you're good, you're good. And the fact that Matty Fitzpatrick coming off a US Open, a major victory, 2 weeks off, a place where he was runner up last year, the fact that he's at 10-1 to me is almost like, I wonder if DraftKings knows something we don't, in the sense that they're trying to bait people there, because I would have thought that Matty Fitzpatrick would be that 11K guy. Granted, John Rahm, Scotty Scheffler, number 1 in the world, number 2 in the world, guys that anytime they tee it up, and I think statistically you can't beat John Rahm, and Scotty Scheffler is number 1 in the world. Justin Thomas is probably, I would say, like, I don't care what the world rankings say, I feel like he's knocking every week right now.
He's impressive for this setup this week too.
Right. So why don't you, I'm going to tell you right now, gut tells me if you're going to go anywhere in the 10K range, to go with Matty Fitzpatrick for all the reasons I just gave. That's the only kind of logical stuff that I can go through. But what do you got in the 10K range?
Yeah, let me quickly pull up ownership, because that's going to make the difference for me between.
While you pull that up, I'm going to remind the folks. Last week, your boy Andrew brought home, the real Mr. Mallard brought home 623 DK points, and this buds for you clocked in at 453. Lucas Glover bit us both, and then Lanto Griffin, you have now taken over Brendan Todd's spot in my heart.
Lucas Glover ruined my 6 for 6. If Lucas Glover had just made the cut, we would have been talking about possibly another takedown. That's how close I was to the top. I think my final position
73rd.
And that was with one missing the cut. So what could have been, but that's the nature of the game.
Ifs and buts, Andrew. Ifs and buts. Talk to me about 10K and above.
Yeah. So Fitzpatrick, as far as 10K and above, makes perfect sense to me. He's 3% less than JT. JT is actually the highest percentage owned, projected owned, I should say.
I wish there was a social scientist who could do this for me, because I would love to find out if that 3% is represented sheerly by American bias, because I think it is.
Yes.
Which is okay. It's one of those things.
It might be, but that's where you can find the edge. I'm fine. I would love Matthew Fitzpatrick.
Oh, JT's my guy.
Yeah, well, and that's fine. Like, I think JT's going to be good, but I think you're right on. Matthew Fitzpatrick lines up perfect here. We're talking about riding the heater. Fitzpatrick would be one of those guys right now. At 14% ownership, at the lowest of the 10K range, it lines up perfectly. It allows you to get someone who is severely underowned in the upper 8K range, who is a ball striker at heart, Mr. Sungjae Im, at only 9% projected ownership right now at 8,700. Seems like a fantastic pairing to start it off with between Im and Fitzpatrick, if you ask me.
So you're skipping right over the 9K range.
I might come back there once I play out the rest of my lineup, but I'm just saying that my gut first, when I'm looking through the ownership and the rankings, Sungjae Im and Fitzpatrick just make a lot of sense to me with what you're going to need on this course.
That makes sense. I'm going to go much more with my gut on this, and I would say if I'm going to come down to that 8K range, I'm looking more. There's a name and a guy, and I think Fairway Jesus is going to look at the next 2 weeks as an opportunity to maybe get back in some. I'm dead serious. It's one of those things you talk about strokes gained home life. He doesn't have status on the PGA Tour. I don't know what his status is on the DP World Tour. There's going to be this void of, I don't know, British golf. Paul Casey going to live is bigger than just the DP World Tour. There's Ryder Cup ramifications. There's all sorts of stuff because he was a lock to be a captain probably in the next 20 years. Yeah. I think Paul Casey, Ian Poulter, both locks. Now,
just consistent enough. Yeah.
I won't say never because they're both in their 40s. And let's be honest, like 20 years from now, we might look back at this and be like, man, fucking water under the bridge, over the dam, wherever the hell the water goes. But it's, speaking to that kind of strokes gained home life, Tommy Fleetwood is on my radar again, being over there. But I think Victor, Tommy, those are the two guys, Victor Hovland and Tommy Fleetwood, I just think are two names in the 8K range where they might rise this week. The two sleepers for me in that 8K, C. Young. I'm just waiting for something big to happen to C. Young this year. And then Billy Ho. I talked about him where I was a Gator hater before today. I'm still a Gator hater. I'm just like a Billy lover now. And I think I said it a couple weeks ago with Rory. I was like, listen, these guys they are at that level where a little extra motivation helps, or sometimes that's what they need, or, a jolt of energy. Complacency might not be necessarily the word. They might be professionally all there, but they hit a plateau somewhere. There's something that even like swing coach, it's not the swing. The swing's great. I'm scoring. I'm doing this, but something's not clicking. And God knows whatever it is. Tom Brady still plays the nobody believed in us card. It's like, yeah, Tom. Okay. I think after Golden State won, Klay Thompson, they're all like, nobody believed in us. I'm like, you were literally the fourth favorite to win last year. Shut your mouth. Oh, there's my dog. So in the 8K range, if you're going to go there, if you got to pick some people up, because I'm not sold. I got to still settle my lineup before we put them out there, but we're going to have to put them out early because we'll put them out before tomorrow night because we got an early tee time. It's 1 a.m.
It always catches me when they're overseas.
1 a.m. Thursday, so we got to get them in tomorrow night. So
make sure to set your lineups too. Don't forget.
Yeah, seriously. All services brought to you by our intern. But the 9K range has got a couple of names. Actually, the 9K range to me is incredibly tasty for so many reasons, top to bottom. Xander Schauffele just won. We talk about people in recent form. Patrick Cantlay has been knocking on the door recently. I swear to God, when he took a dump the other Sunday and literally like he chunked one of his tee shot on a par 3 that he chunked in the water, like a $120, and he just chunked it straight in the water. That was my opening tee shot at my Pub Links qualifier. That's literally the shot that I hit. Like, what's going on? So he does that.
This party that loves to watch a pro make a mistake like the rest of us like that.
I freaking love it. I relish it.
It's just great.
Any shank I love. But Patrick Cantlay did that. I thought he was actually piecing out. I thought mentally he checked out. No, he had a bad round. But
I remember you saying that.
Colin Morikawa, I think we're forgetting that Colin Morikawa is the defending Open champion. He is the champion golfer of the year currently. Will Zalatoris, I am betting Will next week. 100%. I'm putting him in my lineup. I don't care how chalky he is. I'm putting Will Zalatoris out there. Sam Burns is the next up and comer in the PGA Tour. He's won like 3 times in the last year and a half. And then you got Cameron Smith and Hideki Matsuyama, both top pedigree guys. So in the 9K range is juicy. It's tempting to try to overload there in the 9K and then try to find some sleepers in that 6 and 7K.
I don't.
But I'm not above. I'm not above making questionable judgments, Andrew.
Look, I don't hate that strategy. I'm usually for a fade the top and play the majority of the middle kind of player when it comes to this. So I don't hate that strategy at all, especially when there are guys in the 8K range that like we talked about Billy Horschel. Corey Connors is there too. I think he lines up decently this week. Someone else would be. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying I was laughing.
Oh, you said Connors. Yeah, so like this guy's running, and then I mean, still you even get down into the 7K range, and there's some names down there too that have been hot plays, like especially when we're talking ball strikers like Mito Pereira, who has shown up. He's down there at only 7,700 this week. He's probably going to be chalky because he's been a chalky name every time he's been low enough price, but he does line up well for his ball striking abilities. And plus, you got some
Mark
guys who are
Leishman at 7,600.
it's exactly who I was just about to say. I was like, you got a guy who's used to playing that Scottish, that European style golf, and he's down there. Look, he hasn't had a great year. I get it, but when these guys, I think you always say strokes gained home life. When these guys go back to familiar areas, you got to factor it in. I do not hate Mark Leishman down there at 7,600. I'm just going to look right now. I guarantee you he's going to be, if I can spell his name right, 3% projected ownership.
Yeah. Don't sleep on Christian. Oh, you know what? Real quick, I'm going to go back up to that 9K and say if I'm going to plant my flag anywhere, it's going to be with my wife's crush, Colin Morikawa. She thinks he's adorable. I don't disagree. I think he's adorable as well. But Colin Morikawa would be a guy, and then I'm saying Cam Smith, and mostly because his short game, his hands in his short game are second to none, and they're in form right now. So he's another one of those guys. I just have those are total gut checks. But skipping back down to 7K, like you were talking about, Omito. I hope he does well. But right next to him is another guy, ball striker, who earlier this year we talked about during the Florida Swing as a ball striker, and he's sneaky. And I've just got a gut feeling about him. Is Keith Mitchell. You know, he's not just because I associate ball striking with him. I've got my Georgia bias. But that's what I wanted to see, what your fancy schmancy Fantasy National Golf Club model. Actually, I'm not talking down about it. Shouts to the boys and girls of Fantasy National.
Well, I'm missing Keith Mitchell. Oh, there. I love
it. Where is he? That sounds good. That's what I wanted to hear fresh out the gate. I'm like, hey, what's the models on Keith Mitchell? Shit, is he playing?
No. I just happened to look right over him, and I couldn't find him for a second, but that was user error. Nothing to do with how he should play out this week. So look, he comes in. It's not bad. Look, he's finishing. I shouldn't say finishing. He's ranked. Let's see, where's ball strike 40th in ball striking. Strokes gained approach. He's 76th in strokes gained approach. He's a good putter though at 22 in the field. 30th in DK points, so he has the ability to make birdies and to score the points you need to avoid the bogeys. So Keith Mitchell could be a potential safe play at 7,800, dare I say, a low-owned safe play because he and I say safe because his style of play, not because he's safe to do well, but his style of play should translate well for this week in this field. And I'm going to tell you right now what his he's coming in about 8% ownership projected.
Yeah. So, that's, careful, your bulldog is showing, but yeah, that's where my allegiance is going to, because also I think that, again, he's won before. And if you have to throw somebody down there, I would even go cheaper in the 7K range. I think there's a lot more value. Harold Varner III is a guy who down there, just because of recent form, he's been on some leaderboards. He did win on the DP World Tour earlier this year with that magnificent eagle on the 72nd from just off the green. But even Mav McNeely, after coming up short last week down there, 7,400, a ball striker, a guy who's in good form, and he's hungry. So, and then obviously Minwoo Lee. You can't sleep on the defending champ. Does not check a lot of the boxes stats wise, but we've talked about it before. These, when you get to this level, all it takes is something to click. You hear these stories about people who've been struggling, and they'll say like, I don't know. I talked to Brad Faxon for 5 minutes on the putting green and he gave me one tip and now I won. I mean, that's literally all it takes. And that's the margin of error for these guys. So don't sleep on Minwoo down there in the 7K range. But do you have anything that you actually like or caught your attention down in 7 or 6?
So someone who catches my attention in the 6K range, and I'm going to tell you right now, under 5% projected ownership right now.
If you say Luke Donald, I'm hanging up.
It's not Luke Donald. No. But here's what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you he's ranked 9th in strokes gained approach. He's ranked 15th in strokes gained ball striking. And he's ranked top 30 in tee to green. Where he does fall off, unfortunately, is his short game and his putting, which is pretty horrendous in the field. But that putting is something that you can just – you have 1 week where you just feel it.
You're preaching. That's my whole theory on putting.
It's so much harder to be consistent with that approach and short ball striking than it is with the putter. So if I'm going to take a chance someone down here, 6,600, Antoine Rosner. I'll take a shot
Why
with
not?
him. Why not?
Why not?
If Chris Gotterup could do it for us last week, why can't Antoine Rosner do it for us this week? So my what's it called? My value bargain play of the week this week is going to be Antoine Rosner.
All right. I respect it. Mine's actually going to be Luke Donald if I've got to throw some money down in the 6K range.
I thought you were going to yell at me because you said never will you play him, but no, it's because you were holding on to him for yourself.
Well, basically, because while his ball striking is streaky, he is top 10 in strokes gained approach. He is in the green, tee to green, so to speak, and he's top 50 in strokes gained short game, and he's 15th in around the green. So
how many rounds do you have your sample size set to on Fantasy National? Just asking.
And so he is my value at 6,400 that if I have to go down there digging. Also, he's a former world number one, and he's another one of those guys who I think with this Paul Casey, with Ian Poulter, with some of these guys going to live and jumping ship, there's going to be some of these, UK guys who step up and say, wait a minute, like we still believe in the DP World Tour and the PGA Tour, and you're just trying to double dip. And that was another thing that kind of my boy Knox was saying is like, dude, you're just double dipping. If you want to piece out for the money, go for the money. So Luke Donald is my value play this week. He's the long shot. Okay. And I do think that just probably, like we say, local. If you can shop local, buy local.
I don't agree myself on Luke Donald, but but this is why we compete against each other every week because it's fun. We don't have to agree every time.
Right. By the way, the week that you bounced, I did have.
You had a great week.
I had a great week. I had a really good week that week. You did. But you know what? That's what I needed. That was the good practice round that I had to have before I went out into live competition and got smacked down. So we're back at it. It's called scar tissue.
So because we love side bets here, I got a fun one for you right here. Okay. Because this one, it just happened to be when I was because I had to try to find
because we're square on Corey Connors, right?
I think we ended up squared up, right?
Yeah, well, I think I covered. I think we squared up.
We squared up. Yes, you're right. That's right. Yes.
That's all.
So we're square there. Yes. So,
a Lannister pays his debts. That's what I'm saying.
Yes, you do. I'm going to say that Jamie Donaldson finishes better than Luke Donald this week. 6,200. 6,200. Jamie Donaldson.
Head-to-head 62. Jamie Donaldson and Luke Donald on a head-to-head.
Yes.
Yeah, sure. I'll throw my money with Luke Donald. The Northwestern alum has seasoned again. I think this is one of those where you might be texting me Friday afternoon and be like, "Who the fuck is Luke Donald again?" Because I think his greatness predates your interest in golf. So I'm okay with all this bet.
No. I know how good Luke Donald used to be. That's why I'm betting against him, because the key word there is used to be. But here's what I'm going to do. We're going to make a quick TikTok live here because we're going to put this side bet out in the TikTok universe because I got everything up at my eye level now. My phone, conveniently sits right there too. So we're going to go with this. We're going to go ahead and say the side bet for divots and pivots this week between Real Mr. Mallet and this Bud's for you, Mr. Bud Copeland, is going to be that I say Jamie Donaldson finishes better than Luke Donald in DK points at the Genesis Scottish Open this week. Is that is the Genesis Scottish Open?
It's the Genesis Scottish Open. Yes. Okay. The Genesis Scottish Open. And I think Jamie Donaldson is an AI bot that they just created and put in there. I don't think this person exists.
We'll see. Jamie Donaldson and Luke Donald. Comment on this TikTok. Let us know who you got. Real Mr. Mallet, Jamie Donaldson. This Bud's for you, Luke Donald. So we're going to post that to TikTok. We're going to have some fun. Look, we're hitting the end of the show here. What we really want to get, we're going to start putting on some fun content for you guys, whether you're listening, watching, stuff like that. We're going to be more active on TikTok. We're going to be more active on YouTube. We keep saying it. We are going to hit the golf course together this summer.
And we have to.
It's already July. We got, and then
listen.
New England standards for golf.
We have families.
I know, but at New England standards for golf, like we're getting into it now. We got to get some rounds in, the two of us. We're going to start running out of time real fast. So
Preach.
We're going to put some fun content on YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, wherever, all of our accounts. So get out there, make sure you're looking for it. We got a couple minutes left here. So Was there anybody else you wanted to touch on the Scottish Open before we kind of do our closing stuff here?
No, actually, I think the most pressing issue of the day is the Jordan Spieth disqualification. I don't know if you saw this. He got DQ'd. He got DQ'd from the Pro-Am that he is playing in over there, that Tiger's playing in, that everybody's like, oh my God, Tiger's back. He's limping. Is he gonna play? Is he not gonna play? It's like, God, really, like put a pin in it. But I thought it was hilarious.
The Pro-Am's at the Manor, right?
Yeah. And I guess the it is a Pro-Am. And so it is a team event. So he just picked up his ball on when he thought the score didn't matter for the team. He forgot that there's like an individual competition for the pros in the field. And so what I love is, I think it was either the DP World Tour or whoever's hosting the Pro-Am just tweeted it out, because it was the Jordan Spieth tracker on Twitter like made a comment about it. It was like, breaking news, Jordan DQ. And the picture was just him like smiling, like shaking hands with people. I thought it was an Onion article. And I actually think that a guy like Jordan Spieth's gonna have fun with it. He's got to. There's a new wave coming into professional golf in terms of leadership, in terms of talent, in terms of stewardship. I think we're seeing kind of the party. I think Phil in the same way that Greg Norman kind of just faded off from the spotlight in the 90s after his downfall. I say his downfall, after his choking at the Masters. Yeah. But he kind of went off. He did his thing. He made his hundreds of millions of dollars. He did his winery thing. He married Chris Everett. He got divorced. He did his whole bit. And I think Phil doesn't want to be a quote unquote steward of the game. I don't think that he necessarily, I'm not saying he's anti. God knows he's probably grown the game more than anybody that we can imagine. But long term, he wants to be the business guy and play here and play in the majors and just be this. He doesn't want to be an elder statesman. He wants to be the alumni you always invite back to the tailgate. And the problem with that is, I think what he's understanding is the crowd has changed back at the tailgate, and he's going to have some fences to mend, which he will. And he's golf royalty, and he's not banished yet. But this new wave is fun, and watch him this week. There's going to be a lot of good young talent over there, and look for us all to kind of turn the page pretty quickly. I think that we're going to live and let live die. Oof, and I
love it. That's a tweet right there. Get it out there.
And just one final reminder: it is the Scottish Open, so they are way ahead of us. Get your lineups in tomorrow night. And don't sleep on Luke Donald unless you are Luke Donald's partner and he asks you to.
Or unless you are me and you prefer someone named Jamie Donaldson.
All right, kiddo. Let's wrap this up. Take us home. Thank you one more time to Piper and the Clutch. And as always, my friends at Belly Up for letting me crash your party every week. And last thing, this was the Fantasy National. This is the Portland Sea Dogs. See what I was talking about with their logo?
Yes.
The little moose there?
Yeah. Right. Looks just like the Fantasy National logo. Are they connected? I don't know. Illuminati? Who knows? We'll see. But Piper Golf, as always, yes. Shout out to Piper Golf. The hat for the winner, Scott Masterson, from our live event is on its way. So that is wrapped up and done. But like I said, we will hold other giveaways in the future, so keep an eye out for those. So another huge shout out to Piper Golf. In the Clutch, we'll do something soon with them as well. We're looking to just have some fun and make some friends out here. So thank you for joining us again live. You can catch us tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. That's Wednesday, 10 a.m. Well, we're live right now, yeah. You can catch us every Wednesday morning, 10 a.m. on bellyup.tv and on Twitter at Divots and Pivots and at Belly Up Media. You'll catch us there for the rerun of the show and on all of our devices. So keep an eye out for that. And at noon every Wednesday is when it'll hit all the podcasts. Everywhere you can find all your podcasts, your Spotify's, your iHeartRadio, all of those. So check it out. Save it, like it, subscribe it, whatever you're looking at. Give us some love. We love you guys. We'll see you next week. Have a fantastic week. And make sure to get your lineups in early tomorrow night as I try to search for the outro.